Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm really excited for you guys to be here. I have a special guest here today. Marianne, welcome to the podcast. Do you want to intro yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So, my name is Marianne. I am a spending coach. I teach women how to overcome the urge to shop so that they can become unshoppable. And I'm really passionate about helping women afford the life they want with the money they already have. But oftentimes, that money is being spent overspending. And so, trying to regain control over that wasted money in finances.
I'm obsessed with your unshoppable branding. I just think it's like the the cutest. Tell everybody a little bit about, I want to hear about what is your business journey like? Like when did you start thinking like I think I might want to be an online business owner and like what was that journey like when you started?
It definitely it developed and evolved over time, but it kind of was born out of necessity. I found myself, so I'm a speech language pathologist. I went from working full time to part time to being a stay-at-home mom. And when I had kids, it was like I was prepared to raise a human, but I wasn't prepared to like deal with all the emotions that I was going to go through with that. And so I kind of plummeted into like depression and I've had you and I both struggle with migraines and I've had migraines every day for 5 years and it's just
Oh my
been
gosh.
a journey. And so with all of those factors, I really did. I plummeted into like depression and I have OCD, just lots of things happened all at once. And I found that I wasn't coping the right way. My coping was retail therapy, which is not actual therapy.
This turns out, yeah.
And so yeah, I just was shopping all the time. And it frustrated me because I'm really passionate about finances and money. And so I'm like, okay, I just need to budget. That's what everyone tells you to do is budget. And I tried to budget. I tried every type of budget and they didn't work. And so I was like, okay, it can't be the budget. Like, so where is my money going? What am I spending on? And that's when I looked at all the money I was spending outside of bills, outside of fixed expenses, and I was spending like $1,000 every month. And it was just on things that I didn't really care about. And once I saw that, it was really empowering to be like, look what I can do with this money. If I put my mind to it, we can put $1,000 toward things that we care about. And I found that my passion was in my business, and I started to kind of redirect that money into not all of it, like it was kind of spread around, but I started putting it into like, what do I really care about? I value my family, I value my time and convenience, and I value personal development. And I had lost all of those things becoming a mom and kind of losing my job. I didn't lose it, but I had stopped working. And I'm very passionate about being self-sufficient and having my own stream of revenue. And so it kind of just evolved. And once I learned that it's all about emotions. It's all about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. Then things happen, and once you have that drive to put your money somewhere that you want it to go, it's almost like my spending changed overnight because I had something that I valued more than just clothing and accessories. And then
Yeah.
that was like, I really want to teach people about that because so often it's just make a budget, just stop spending. That doesn't work for everyone because
Yeah.
spending is not a budgeting problem, it's a spending problem.
It's interesting because I see this all the time, like coaching online business owners too, because a lot of people will come in and they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. But then when I ask them, they have a pretty clear idea of like what they should be doing. Like it's not like that big of a mystery. Like I know it is hard when you start and it is hard to kind of figure that out. But when I really ask people, a lot of times they'll be like, no, I want like this kind of business and I want to sell these things and I want to like do YouTube and I want to like, and they know how to do that, right? And the same is true like with weight loss. It's like weight loss is pretty straightforward. Like it's like eat less calories, like burn more calories than you're eating. Like just because you know the how of something doesn't mean we're able to do it. Like there's so many other layers in there. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I understand what I should be doing, but I'm not doing. And then I think our culture is so bad at teaching processing emotions and mindset stuff that then people are just kind of stuck because they're just like, well, it's because I'm bad, right? It's because I
Mhm.
suck.
Absolutely. Well, and it was being in this mastermind that helped me make those connections about what are you feeling? What's the reason behind? What are the thoughts that you have? Now, this applies to so many things. It applies to weight loss, it applies to money. And so I really just got passionate about looking at what drives the urge to overspend. And our emotions and our logic, they're intertwined in our brain. Like you
Mhm.
cannot make a decision without emotions. And that's a good thing because we often make bad decisions without when we ignore our emotions. But we also don't, we make good ones and bad ones. And realizing that once you are aware of your emotions, once you recognize what's the real issue here, and I I tell myself, I mean, this concept has saved me thousands of dollars with buying for business. I see that a lot. People are just like they're wanting to buy confidence, they're wanting to buy security, and it's like I've got to spend money to make money. But if if you are buying things to feel better about your business, then the bottom line is you have to buy constantly in order to feel good about your business. That's not practical. It's not going to work in the long term. It's not going to work for your wallet. You're going to go out of business with that mindset. And so what do you really need to do to fix that confidence? It's the inner work. It's figuring out how do I get more confident about my business? That's not in buying a course. You won't
Yeah,
get that confidence. Same with I was buying clothing and accessories to feel good on the outside, but then I'd have to be wearing those things and looking my best 24/7 to feel good. That's
yeah,
not
I
the issue.
totally see that. I think it's hard with business too because a lot of times you have to work and you don't see instant results. And during that time, like people's belief goes down, right? Because they're like, I'm working, I'm working, I'm working. I'm not seeing any results. Their belief goes down and they're like, I'm going to learn Pinterest or I'm going to learn ads or I'm going to do this other thing. And they buy a course and that boosts their belief back up, right? And so I see that all the time, like in those kind of cycles with online business owners. That's why I'm really on everybody in the mastermind all the time about like you need a time budget and a money budget. Like you don't just spend unlimited amounts of money on your business. And I'm like, you have to decide ahead of time because otherwise your business will decide for you, and that's not not a good way to
Oh
make
yeah.
decisions.
That I know there's so many similarities. I tell that to people like going to the store with something in mind because the store will manifest what you think you need. A
That's
problem
exactly
you
what it is.
never even had.
Totally, because what happens is people's belief is low, and then there's some marketer in front of them being like, I have the magic strategy. Like, here's all my success stories. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. And so it's easy to get in that cycle. Where were you at with your business journey when you came in the mastermind? Because you've been in for a little while now, right?
So it's going on 2 years. I had been growing my business, kind of squeezing in whatever time I had between kids and chronic health issues, but I was just growing it and passionate about it, but I didn't have a product. I wasn't making um really any progress moving the bottom line. I was doing a lot of research, I was doing a lot of busy work, but I wasn't getting results. And so um when I started the mastermind, I realized I need to stop researching. I need to get an idea and run with it. And I was really I'm really one of those that's like I don't want to waste any time. And so one of our coaching calls, it was getting my course up and running. And you said in order to get version 1, you need to get version 1. In order to have version 1.2, you need to have version 1. And so I was that really was like, oh, in a year from now, I want to be selling my course. And so I start now, a year from today, I'll be comfortable selling my course. That got the fire under my butt because it's like the longer I wait, the further it's going to be, and it's going to be a year before you like get really comfortable with the course. And so that really helped me to realize that I need to get version 1.1 before 1.2 can develop. And then ever since then, it's just been like these opportunities have kind of come out of the woodwork, but it's because I've been confident about I've gotten practice pitching myself. I've gotten practice networking and just being very honest with people and passionate. And I mean, I've talked to people that I never would have talked to and said, "Hey, I'm a spending coach. I'm passionate about this, and I'm not afraid of no." I got a yes and a no yesterday, and it was like, that's okay. I still and the no was a it's not right now. And so I love the quote. It's like I think luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I
Yeah,
feel like
totally.
yeah, the mastermind has really helped me to prepare so that when opportunities come, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to just take those jumps and take risks because the alternative is I just sit around waiting for things to happen to me and they don't. You have to go out and get these opportunities. And so I would not do that because I'd be fearing rejection, I'd be fearing a lot of things, but
I think the community helps too because it kind of normalizes. Like I say this on calls all the time. I'm like, this is just normal ass business stuff, you guys. Like, not everything you put out is gonna hit. Not every product is gonna sell. Not every launch is gonna be the biggest launch. Like, this is just normal business stuff. And I think what just people listening to the calls and like being around normal business things, then when you do get rejected or something doesn't go your way, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, this means I'm never going to succeed and it's like never going to work for me. It's just kind of like, oh, like this is disappointing, right? But it's just kind of normal business. Had you taken other programs before you came in the mastermind? I'm curious, like, kind of if
no.
you notice any differences.
Right. I didn't. And the reason I was so excited for the mastermind was that I was very aware of all the programs. They do free, but they don't give you everything. They give you a piece of the puzzle, but then they don't give you access to the entire puzzle. It's like you need to buy the selling, you need to buy the Pinterest, you need to buy all of these things. And I'm like, no, I want a place where I invest my money and I have access to the resources I need when I need them. And so the mastermind was like a godsend. It was like it was like exactly what I was looking for because you have access to the whole puzzle and you have resources, you have opportunities to develop where you're at. And that's where I wanted my money to go. I didn't want to be buying each stage of the journey because there's so many. You can buy every skill and you'll never make a profit because you're just constantly buying skills. So I just was so thrilled to finally find a mastermind that like had access to the entire puzzle, but also one that like delivered on the promises of like, we're gonna give you practice as a beginning business. I got so comfortable being in summits and because it's a safe environment. You're safe to make mistakes, you're safe to be a beginner. And then when you go to other platforms, you don't feel like such a beginner. You don't feel like an imposter.
Yeah. And we have people of all levels in there. That's something that people are always asking me about. They're like, well, what level is it for? And I'm like, we have people of all levels. People are like, that really blows people's minds. They're like, I don't understand how that works. And I'm like, well, we have a portal full of resources. They can use whatever they need. And then they come to the calls and we coach them. And really, the coaching I give can apply to most people. Like, there's very rare that I'm giving business advice that's so specific that it's only going to apply to that one person on the call. Like usually multiple people can relate in some way. What do you think about that? Do you find it like does it feel comfortable for you guys having like some people ahead of you and some people behind you? Do you notice it? Like what's kind of I'm curious what your experience is with that.
I love it. It's genius because as a beginner, you want to see what's possible. You want to see and the reality of what's possible. It's not just sunshine and roses every single day like is promoted. And so what's
Mhm.
possible, but then you see people along the journey, what little things they're doing, what daily tasks they're doing to get those results. And you don't get that in other programs. You don't get that in courses. They market the best of the best. And this is it's real people in business, and I love seeing everyone at every stage because you can go, I was there
Yeah, totally.
going.
People are really, I feel like people are really helpful. I know it's my community, so I'm like biased. Obviously, this is like my biased opinion, but I do feel like the people in our community that we attract that want to grow their business with the community, we attract a lot of community-minded people. And I do feel like our community helps people out and wants to share their experiences and wants to be honest about what they're experiencing so it can help other people and
Mhm.
be supportive. We offer a lot of different stuff in the mastermind. So for you guys listening, I'm going to try to give you like a quick, I guess, rundown, but we have like modules in the portal. We have business retreats where people will go and sign on and work on specific aspects of their business. We have coaching calls that I do on Zoom. We have Q&A. We have guest coaches. What is kind of like your favorite part like of the mastermind that you feel like this is like my favorite part of it?
I I like the guest coaches, and I like the coaches that are within the mastermind. We have people that are experts in YouTube. We have people that are experts in each field. And it's so nice to just, again, get that expertise so you're not having to cherry pick and buy with your limited funds, where a lot of us are paying from our personal funds. We don't have a business that's making money yet. And so that's just so comforting to be like, my money is going towards skills and
Mhm.
it's not going toward like a paid outcome that's just given to you. Like you learn so much more from doing it and creating those results yourself.
Yeah, that makes me happy to hear because that was my vision when I made it. Like everybody has a different answer. I'm always curious, but my vision when I made it was like people that are kind of starting and trying to get their businesses up don't have resources to hire a copywriter and a YouTube editor and a coach and like all these different people. And I was like, how could we make, a membership that offers all that stuff? And, we're still evolving it. It's still like moving, I think, towards my total vision. But I feel like what we have right now is it is really nice that you guys get access to all that. So I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
What was
it's amazing.
what has been like your biggest kind of takeaway, do you think? Like what's like your biggest thing where you're like, "Oh, I'm so glad like I learned that."
I think being willing to be a beginner, to come
Yeah.
off as not perfectly polished. I I've told myself I'm comfortable in front of my audience. I'm comfortable talking with them. I'm in being on camera. But I was watching one of your modules. I think it was for Creator Camp, and it was like, what's stopping you from just picking up your phone and talking to your audience? And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't do that. I have perfectly polished ideas that I've thought about and put modules together for, but I don't have just these daily tips of like what I think about. And uh, that's just so empowering to be like, there's no barriers. And the barriers were what I've created, that idea that it has to be perfect and polished.
Well,
But
it's
people
also
who
what we're taught, I think, to some extent too. Like we're taught
don't,
like this is how you be successful, you follow the rules, you do these things, this is how you be professional. Like that was a big thing. Like I remember growing up, like tattoos were like still pretty taboo, and it was still very like you need to be professional and present yourself professionally. And it's so interesting having these online businesses and with so many people leveraging social media, the stuff that does really well on there often isn't like your most polished, smart, clever post. A lot of times it's like you in your pajamas, like going on some rant. And people are like, oh, yeah.
yeah, and also just the idea that you don't need to have a lot of new, unique things to say. You just need to have power, a few powerful things that you just say over and over and over. Because I know that I've heard you say, get comfortable being in front of your audience, be more present, be more visual, go on camera. I've heard that so many times. But the way you phrased it of what is stopping you? I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. What is stopping me? I just need to do this. So we just need to hear the same message over and over and over in different ways. And that's really powerful because we don't have to put so much pressure on ourselves. We put so much pressure on ourselves and it stops results, it
It's
stops outcomes from happening.
Yeah, I think the times I've had the most difficult time in my business is when I felt like I need to have something really smart to say, like all the time. Like I need to have something very clever and smart to say. But when I started coaching people one-on-one, I realized I felt like a professional parrot because I was coaching a lot and I was saying the same things on to everybody on all the calls and kind of saying the same things over and over. And I just kind of realized like, oh, like it's not really about having something new and super clever to say. It's like really just telling them these core things over and over are what people need to hear. And I think that kind of set me free in a lot of ways and just made me feel like, yeah, like it took the pressure off and it has made me able to create so much more, I think, than I would have if I were still trying to be super clever all the time.
Yep. Yeah, same, same.
Where can people find you if they're interested in the shopping stuff? Tell us where we can find you. And I know you said you brought a free gift, so tell them about that.
Yeah. In every interaction I have with people about what I do, the first question or one of the questions I get asked is how do I stop impulse buying and impulse
Mhm.
spending? And so I created an impulse spending guide. It helps you create that pause to ask yourself questions. Do I really need this? Not is it a want or a need? That's such a basic generic thing. It asks specific questions like what do I need this item right now with my body, with my life? Does it work for my life right now? Do I have the finances to cover it? What am I feeling? It just goes deeper into why you feel the need to buy it. And so I created that impulse spending guide to help people stop spending before it happened rather than feeling all that guilt and shame for buying something you didn't even want or need. And so, and then to find me, Become Unshoppable. I'm on all platforms as Become Unshoppable. And my blog is becomeunshoppable.com. So I would love to chat with you about all things money and how to overcome overspending because there's a reason why budgeting hasn't worked. And it's because it's not a budgeting problem, it's a spending problem, and I can help you.
That's amazing. And so we'll put the link for the free guide in the comments for you guys if you want. I think this is a really, really important, honestly, topic that you talk about. And I think about this a lot, just about how our culture really teaches you to be a consumer. And I think people are kind of taught like the way you celebrate is by consuming, either consuming food or consuming alcohol or buying products, right? And the way we're taught to feel better when we're sad. It's like, oh, a little like treat, like, oh, treat yourself and like a little pick me up. And I think a lot of the times our culture really does teach people to regulate their emotions through consumption. And so I think you really do have to go out of your way to intentionally teach yourself these skills because it's not going to be taught to you like really anywhere else unless you seek out that
Uh,
information.
it's not. I became a spending coach because there was nothing out there other than budgeting advice, and that didn't help me. And I think that we're taught to ignore our emotions. We're taught to just feel better in the moment. And so we never actually deal with the root cause. So we can budget all we want, but it's the action, it's actually spending. It's making those steps to change those spending habits. And that's really what I'm passionate
It's
about.
so interesting too, because I think you're right. Like I think people are kind of taught just make your budget, and then it's almost like that hustle kind of mentality of like, and just like suck it up and power through and just follow your budget. And that's it. I see that advice with entrepreneurs all the time where it's like, just like work more hours. Like
Yeah,
just like work harder, spend more money. Like it's just like just push through, right? And it's like that almost never works. Like it works for a very small percentage of people.
exactly, exactly. Well, and that's the empowering part is the emotions drive a lot of decisions, and that can feel really overwhelming. But that's empowering because that means that we can take control over that and we can learn to identify what we're feeling and really get the needs met the right way instead of just kicking the can down the road or just pushing those needs down, suppressing them with purchases. So it's meant to be empowering and hopeful that the powers you within you right now to change your spending habits. You just need to find the driving force. For me, it was pursuing my passions of business.
Yeah. And I'll tell you guys too that are listening, like I see this with business owners all the time. So it's not just spending with Target. Like we were saying, like I see people overspending on their businesses, like on these courses or on coaching or all these things. And, if you feel like you're struggling with that, you should definitely check out Marianne's stuff, and that can help you with that. I did a little talk in the mastermind the other day where I was showing them our budget and our numbers, and I was telling them, there's two ways to increase profit in your business. It's like, and a lot of people are just like, make more sales, bring more revenue in. But for me, like I started profiting and making a lot more money when I started paying attention to our expenses and like cutting like what we were spending on. And it's not always like you just spend money and then you make more money. Like that's not how business works. You have to spend very strategically, right? And so if you guys are looking at like, I want the business to be more profitable, one of the things to look at is like, what am I buying and why? Like, why did I buy that? Like, these are really important things to ask as an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people are not taught that because people in the industry, frankly, like benefit off of people overspending. I went through this with my business where I was like, how have I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on business coaching and I don't know how to read a P&L sheet? Like, what is happening, right? And that's why I'm so passionate about having Whitney. We have my financial advisor that coaches in the mastermind, and I'm always talking about budgeting and showing people this stuff because I'm like, nobody in the industry told me. And I hate to like be kind of, I don't know, conspiratorial, but I think it's because they wanted me to keep overspending on their services, and I was spending an amount that didn't make sense for the size of business that I had. And
Yes.
so it happens kind of, it's very easy to happen in this industry. And so you guys might be thinking like, oh, like overspending and shopping is like for Target or for, I don't know. What is some of the common things people overspend on?
Common is clothing, shopping, food, conveniences,
I
but
do Amazon.
yeah, Amazon is huge. Like TikTok shop,
It's
there's a
too
lot.
easy. It's too
It is.
easy.
It's too
I
easy.
need to unlink my credit card because Matt and I always say this too, where we're like, what did we even order? Like, I don't even know. We'll get stuff when we're like, did you order something? Like, we don't even remember what it was. So it's like obviously not that important.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I think it happens at a higher price and it happens faster in business because they're not $20 things. They're usually like hundreds of dollars of things. They're the $1,000 courses. And you have to realize that if you can't control $100, you're not going to be able to control $1,000. So no matter how much you're making and how much you grow, you're going to lose that amount to the
Yeah.
amount that you're making, the percentage of what you're spending. And so
I
you
never
really,
believed people when they said that. I was like, if I was making $10,000 a month, $20,000 a month, like I would be fine, right? But the reality was, I am someone that had lived paycheck to paycheck my whole life. And so I was really comfortable running the business, spending every damn thing we were making for a long time. And like, kind of what you're saying, it's like if you don't have that budget and you don't know what you're buying and why, the business, I'm always like, the business is a little money gremlin. It just always wants more money, always wants more time. There's always other things you could be buying. And if you don't have a number in your head of like, I'm not going above this, right? Like I just kind of have a number for our expenses where I'm like, we can't afford to go above this, right? And it doesn't matter what the team wants or what kind of ideas I have. It's like our expenses cannot go above that. Like that's just what it is right now. That number I think will go up like over time, like as we start making more money, but I'm only willing to like spend a certain percentage of our profit on expenses to keep the business healthy and profitable. And that doesn't happen by accident. It happens like very strategically, which I think is what I didn't understand about kind of money in business when I started.
Yeah. Yep. So if you're struggling, sticking within those spending limits, that's where I help people with. Once you have an idea, your budget, it's sticking within those limits and finding why you can't stick to that limit. There's an underlying need, there's something that you're trying to buy that can't be bought. It doesn't have a price tag ultimately is what I deal with people. It's they're trying to buy that security, they're trying to buy these things. And once they recognize that, they put it towards something they actually need and they're strategic about their spending.
Yeah. Well, this is such an important conversation and so important for entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for being here and sharing some of your experiences. Been a privilege like having you in the mastermind. Like truly, it's been really awesome like seeing all the stuff that you've done and it's just very impressive at what you've I'm very impressed by you about what you've been able to accomplish with all of the struggles and all of the stuff I've seen you deal with over the last couple of years. So it really is an honor to have you here and to be your coach. And that's it. So you guys
Thank
go check out Marianne, and I'll see you at the coaching call maybe next week.
We'll see you there.
Okay, bye.
Thanks so much.